Good to go.
Part 2, lecture 10. So, I don't want you researching too much.
Well, I thought it was interesting.
Of course it's interesting. I want you reading more. It's great stuff. Yes. No, I don't want to discourage that either. I don't want you to discourage your reading of it. That's what I mean is, but you know, the assignment's to read that particular book, right? What does that book say?
Oh.
So we're reading Phaedo, not just Plato's Defense of the Soul, but through Phaedo. How did the book? Because it's just keeping you accountable to the reading. But keep going on what you were about to say though. After your research.
I did think it was interesting, the whole perspective of, I guess what you're saying, but I guess I don't see it as possible.
To be physical or non-physical? Well, let me ask you a couple questions here. Is this still recording? Because I see that it's okay. Here's a question. What can you describe what it means to be physical?
Can I describe it? I guess to have form in the sense of.
But form, that's certainly the forms that's Plato, right?
It steps into that area.
And it talks about the forms are in heaven. So there's something. Okay, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say that you're right. It does step into the kind of your view of visibly and then mentally, you creating a form of something.
Well, I didn't create it, right?
But like just mentally.
I mean, these things exist whether you think of them or not, right? So, physical things. At least I could say this: my body's physical. Okay. The table's physical. When I look at physical things, I go, okay, well, there's atomic structure to it. Like, do I see atoms? I don't even know. I don't. Do I feel atoms? No, I don't know. What does an atom feel like, right? You know, and atoms make up molecules, and right, molecules make up cells, and cells make up things. Correct? All right, that makes sense. Okay. None of these things I have access to. I mean, if I look at a microscope, I can see some cells. Correct?
Yeah.
What about atoms? We can't see atoms, right? They're too small. And by too small, we're talking about light. Light. Is light made up of atoms?
I don't.
There are two theories, allegedly. Corpuscular theory of light, right? Light's made up of parts. And then there's a wavelength theory. And there's this cool double slit experiment, which is really cool. I'd like to show you on video one day. And they don't know, you know. But anyway, for whatever reason, you know, whether you go try, and so you could get, you know, they have these these electron microscopes, right? But what does an atom look like? Now you got the model of the atom with it circling around itself right there.
Yeah.
What are the parts of the atom? See, our atoms aren't solid, are they?
No.
Because they're made up of parts. Interesting. So what are the parts?
You have the neutron, the proton, and then the electron surrounding it.
Yeah. How far are those apart from each other? And how small are they compared to the distance? Go ahead.
I actually don't know.
I've heard certain things like in relation, it's like the Earth and the Moon. You know, between the proton and the electrons.
Okay.
That's a kind of distance and size, but it's just that small. So it's like if you got down that small, it'd be like you couldn't just drive a truck through it. You could drive probably another planet through it. You know, you know, that's how much space is between the parts and their size. And you go, oh my God, well, where's the solidity come from? Because a lot of people assume that all things that are visible or not visible, physical, are somehow solid or tangible, but atoms don't have any of the properties that make up the things that are the things they make up. So let's take this table. It is motionless. It is solid. It is colored, solid, and motionless. And yet it is made up of things that are not solid not colorful, right? And not motionless. Did I say motionless already?
No.
The atoms, so where do the properties come from? A solidity, motionless, and coloredness. If the atoms themselves don't have
Scale of size.
of anything.
I'm sorry?
I mean, that's gray. Are the atoms gray?
I don't know.
No, they're not.
I know they don't have color.
They're not.
Okay.
Why would they? They're smaller than light.
Huh. I hadn't thought of that.
Think about what color is.
It's the
Spectrums of light.
yeah.
You know, like, or it's how we perceive them.
Mhm.
We're gonna talk whether it's identical to that, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about this. So, I mean, you start going, well, what does it mean to be physical? It becomes very difficult, okay? So the phenomenalist, of course, is gonna go, see, physical world doesn't exist. It's all illusion. It's all phenomena. Or ideas, in this case. Now, those aren't your only options, right? There's a third option. And the third option just says the world is made up of both physical and non-physical things. Physical and non-physical things. There's some things that are physical, like tables and chairs, and some things that are not, ideas. If you're naturalists, I mean, it's interesting because there are a lot of naturalists out there, people who go, I'm a naturalist, I believe everything that exists is physical. But then they start talking about mathematical equations and numbers and rules and laws and morals, and you go, wait a minute, you can't believe in those because those are what? Not physical.
Yeah, things, yeah.
Okay. So the realist is going to say, no, I'll believe it's a physical thing. Sure, of course. Absolutely. Why not? You're not anti-science if you're a realist. But you're also, but you also hold, place that, the non-physical reality exists. You're not, an atheist either. You don't have to be. You can be, I suppose. But no need to be. So when we talk about the world, we're trying to ask the question, what types of things exist? And we try to ask this question for several reasons, because we want to know epistemologically what is true, and we want to know what's good, and we want to know what's beautiful, and we want to know about the world in such a way that we can make those statements, because that's the subject of our inquiry, right? The world. What's true about the world, what's good about the world, and what's beautiful. Does beauty really exist? And if so, is this thing beautiful? Whether it be a sunset, right? Or your girlfriend slash boyfriend, or somebody else's girlfriend slash boyfriend, right? Beauty's a big, business. I like to paint. So my paintings are more beautiful than others. So, let's talk about certain things. Let's talk about properties and relations first. When we talk about things that exist, we generally talk about, we describe them through their properties, right?
Mhm.
What is I gave you some properties at the table. Solid, colored. I could talk about, properties would be like red is a property, or colored is a property. Okay? Solid's a property. Viscous, like if it's oil, is a property. Okay? We could even say something squishy, and I guess we can call that a property. Something, okay? Usually the things we describe other objects by, we call, that's property. Now, they're simple properties, and how do we know what a simple property is? How do you know, can you tell me what a table is?
I think so.
Well, I mean, that's not, yes or no, I mean, tell me what, I'm asking you to tell me a table, just tell me.
Okay, it's it is a object that has.
So it starts, it's an object, so, okay, start with the big picture.
Okay, it's an object that has legs and stands on its own.
Legs,
But is immovable.
legs,
Yeah, they could look like for legs, but they typically have like, the legs purpose help them to just,
it's immovable?
yes, it's immovable.
So, really? You can't move tables once they're,
Oh, no, I guess you can move tables, so yeah.
okay.
I guess they don't move on their own, so how would you say that?
Okay, well, that's, okay, well, they're inanimate?
They're inanimate, yes, okay.
Okay, okay. Can you describe a table for me? I'm pretty confused. It's this thing
Yeah.
with legs, it's paralyzed.
Okay, it's an object.
It's an object, we started with that, good, good.
It can have. It has supports.
Supports,
Yeah, that.
such as, you guys doing fine, you're doing fine.
This is
This is difficult, isn't it, just to define something like a table, right? We're using a definition, right? Usually definitions take something broad and then specific, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you started broad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you can say it's an object, and then you can take its purpose. How's that?
Yeah,
With the purpose of placing things upon, right?
okay, yeah.
Okay, it's a table. Then you can describe it in a different way of its, you know, you can also define it in what it's made up of, okay? You use legs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you could said, a table is an object with a flat surface that is supported by, you called them legs. I'm trying to figure out a way to, I was giving you a hard time, but now it's like, by, what would you say? Where's our engineer in the room? What would we call these? We call them legs, but, you know, leg-like objects made from.
Supports.
Yeah, supports, you know, to lift it off the ground, perhaps. So, okay, but then you start describing each one of these things, right? And that's the purpose, and then we described it as a flat surface. But what does it mean to be flat? That's what I'm getting at, is I don't care about the table. I care about what we're using to describe it, because I'm talking about what are called basic properties, or simple properties,
Okay.
and flat is a property, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be flat?
It's linear. It doesn't have like waves or.
Okay, what does it mean to be
Shapes.
linear then? No, I know, and this is gonna get
It
difficult.
can follow like a geometric pattern.
Geometric pattern?
Yeah.
Sure,
If it
but
is
you just went,
linear.
okay, so yeah, what's a geometric pattern? Has to do with shapes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you know shapes? Let's just take any shape. We went flat, okay, it's generally a plane, kind of, right? But what's that? Well, how do you know what a plane is? Let me give you a couple other simple properties. Colored, or let's even just go even one little better, yellow. Okay? Flat, curved, yellow. Okay? How do you know what any of those are? It's through ostension. O-S-T-E-N-S-I-O-N. Ostension. How did you learn what yellow was?
You were exposed to it and
You
they
saw it.
Yeah.
That's correct. And mom pointed at it. Ostension just means reference. Okay? You referred to it. Mom referred to it, or dad, or whomever taught you your language, and said yellow, and pointed at yellow things. We don't have anything yellow in this class, so let's use something else. Blue. So mom points at this and says blue, and the kid goes blue and thinks she's talking about the things I'm wearing, right? Pants. And then she points, say, at the mask you're wearing. It says blue, and the kid's slightly confused. But okay, and then points at the phone and says blue, and then that, and all of a sudden the kid learns to abstract, to pull out the property to which mom is referring. What is the property to which mom is referring? The color.
Yeah.
Okay? And now the kid has learned through ostension blueness. And then eventually, after the kid learns blue and orange, right? Husky colors. And then all the other colors learns one thing in common, that they can categorize all these colors: green, blue, yellow, red, right? Orange, teal, whatever. Realizes that we call these colors, and that there's a property called color. Now, the property color is not colored itself, but every colored thing, such as orange, yellow, green, and that, like, has the property of what? Being colored. Okay? While all green things are colored things, not all colored things are green things. Learns the category. Learns how to place them in that somehow. And so, certain things by which we describe